Hi, have you ever turned on an easy terrain tutorial only to be met with this?
Ready?
Ready.
First, patch the cracks in the slab using a latex patching compound and a patching trowel.
Hand me my patching trowel, boy.
Now, do you have extruded polyvinyl foam insulation?
No.
Good. Assemble the aluminum J-channel using self-furring screws. Install.
What do I do in
After
case...
applying brushable coating to the panels,
Wait a
you'll
minute.
need some corrosion-resistant metal stucco lath.
Wait a minute.
If you can't find metal stucco lath,
Uh-huh.
use carbon fiber stucco lath.
Oh!
Well, in that case, this video is for you. We're going old school. There's going to be no 3D printed pieces and there's going to be no XPS foam. We're just using cardboard. So for this build, we're going to start with a small square of cardboard, and this is going to be used for the base of our build. We're then going to take a piece of corrugated card, and we're going to use that as our corrugated steel covering. We're then going to take two smaller pieces and glue them behind the corrugated cardboard, and those are going to be posts which we're going to use as fence posts. We're then going to take just a coffee stirrer, and we're going to take that and snip that down to size and use that as our fence panel. And we're just going to glue that in place using a hot glue gun, and after a few seconds that should dry solid. Then we're going to take our matchsticks again. We're just going to trim these down to an appropriate size and stick 3 or 4 of them down on the side of the base. We're going to take our corrugated cardboard to use as our metal sheeting, and we're going to use that as fence panels. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to take some cardboard. This time we're going to take some thicker double corrugated cardboard, and we're just going to use this to make some World War II ruined buildings. So firstly, you want to make sure that you chop it down to an appropriate size. So just use some reference minis if you go for 10mm or 28 or 15 in this case. Then I'm just going to take some scissors and I'm just going to cut out a really rough shape that I'm wanting for the building. So here I've gone for like a half destroyed building. So I've got a rough square shape and then a wee triangular corner. Then I'm just going to take a pencil and mark out where I want some rough windows to be. And then I'm just going to chop those out either using a scalpel, or if you've just got an X-Acto knife or even a box cutter, anything will do. Then comes the fun bit. Now what you get to do is take that scalpel and really go to town on the cardboard. You can peel off the first layer and that corrugation will remain underneath, and that gives a good damaged, blasted building effect. Then I took some tweezers and I used these to poke bullet holes right across the cardboard face. Now you can go as crazy or as restricted with this as you like. Then take a hot glue gun or use PVA glue if you'd rather, and simply glue the pieces down onto your cardboard base. Now I used hot glue here purely for speed, but PVA or something similar would work equally well. Next, I decided I wanted a wee platform on the first floor of the building, so I've just taken some clippers and cut away at that cardboard in order to have a little wee area for some soldiers to stand on the top. Then I just took another coffee stirrer and trimmed this down with some sprue clippers, and again with a little bit of hot glue I was able to attach this to the building frame. And with that, the main structure of this build is completed. Just a bit of cardboard and some coffee stirrers for optional extras. And then I also took some of my spare bits of matchsticks, sprue and coffee stirrers and used those to make a wee rubble pile. Just be sure to keep your minis to hand to make sure there's space for them to fit. Okay, next, take your basing material of choice. In this case, I've went for just some mixed sand grains, and take some PVA glue and just spread that out across your cardboard base. Then what you want to do is put a wee sheet down and then sprinkle on your basing mixture. Tip off the excess and then leave it to dry. Once you've done that, you're going to want to prime it. For this, I chose not to use my expensive Citadel black spray, but just a cheap craft spray paint. This one was only £1 or so out of somewhere like Poundland. With the models primed, what we're then going to do is we're going to take a dark shade of brown and just paint on quite sloppily a nice brown covering all over the base of the models. With the brown basing done, I'm now going to take a grey paint. In this case, it's just a cheap tester pot that I got from B&Q. I'm just going to lightly dry brush this over the actual building walls and anywhere else that I want to be grey. With that done, it's now time to take a silver paint, and with this I'm just going to paint in all of the metal areas on both models, including the corrugated cardboard. And then chose a neutral buff or tan colour, so this is just an off-white ivory sort of colour, and I use that to give the entire thing a simple dry brush, and this is just going to pick out all of the details and tie in the colours. I then chose an ochre colour, this is kind of like a yellowy brown, and I used this to pick out all of those wood details, all of the struts and all of the fence posts and panelling. After painting in the wood effects, I then chose a lighter shade of grey and gave the entirety of the model's walls a nice highlight. I did this because I then wanted to paint in the more fine, detailed parts of the wooden struts. Once I've done this, I then took a wash. This was Agrag's Earthshade, but you could use your own diluted down black paint, and I used this to give the base a good wash. So once all of the painting has been completed, the next thing is to base the model. So we're going to take some cheap PVA glue, or Elmer's glue if you're in the States, and we're just going to dab this on to the base of the model. Now, it's up to you, you could cover the entirety of the base with this, but I like to just dab it on. That way, that base that we've spent all that time painting can still show through in spaces. So just dab on the PVA, and then we're going to take your flock of choice and just sprinkle that on. Let it sit for a wee while, and then tip off the excess. Now, if you want to take this further and you have another shade of flock, in this case we've got a base color of green, I'm now going to dab on a few extra spots of PVA, and I'm then going to use this much more beige or dead grass effect, which is used by this yellow flock that I'm going to add on now. Now for the ruined building, I'm not going to add a lot of grass. Instead, what I'm going to do is dab some PVA along the edge of the wall and then use some of this more coarse grains as rubble. And with that, the models are done. I hope this goes to show that with just some cardboard and a few good ideas, you can make perfect scatter terrain for any size, in this case 15mm, ideal World War II ruins for Flames of War.